Salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
MashaAllah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-ali al-azim. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله قاصم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الحارمين والصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي اسمه في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتليهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد عن حسين بن علي عليهم السلام فإن السنة قد أميتت وإن البدعة قد أهيت وبعد كأن الدنيا لم تكن وكأن الآخرة لم تزل. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your Marhumeen and of the graves of the Shahada and Siddiqeen, for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, and for the safety of all the Azadars of Sayyid al-Shahada, please recite aloud Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim, one that has given us another opportunity to sit in the remembrance of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Before I continue with the discussion, I have a little request. Could the brothers on this side and everyone just move forward a little bit? It seems everyone's so far away today, isn't it? At least this way you're closer to me. Thank you. We continue our discussion today on the deviations within the people and within the society that stood against Abu Abdullah in the event of Karbala. Over the last few nights we've discussed some of the social factors, and then from the last 2 nights we've been discussing those spiritual factors. The lack of remembrance, which we discussed 2 nights ago, and then yesterday that concept of hypocrisy. That thing that which we discussed in detail yesterday as to how we would identify what a hypocrite is, and the night before that we were talking about the remembrance of Allah and what are the signs of those that do not remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We've been using the letter of Abu Abdullah, which was sent to the people of Basra, where the Imam says that the Sunnat is dead and innovation has become rife within society. People are beginning to add things to the deen that were not there, and thus that is what started happening straight after the death of the Holy Prophet, from the election system that was implemented right the way through to the monarchy, and subsequently the event of Karbala, the day of Ashura, and then onwards as well. And this system of innovation will continue until the rise of our Imam, but the responsibility on our shoulders is to see what of those things, what of those innovations has entered into our lives, into our masajids, into our gatherings, and compare them to Islam and if they are against Islam, to remove them. But if they're not, like I said on the first night, certain aspects of culture are in line with the faith, and it's perfectly fine. Inshallah, tonight we'll try and look at the concept of fear as a lesson from Karbala. I've been stressing over the last few nights at the importance of looking at the event of Karbala and the history, but taking from it some lessons that we can take away into our lives. Not just listening to it as a story every year that comes, because by doing that we're lowering the status of Karbala, we're lowering the status of Azadari, we're lowering the status of Abu Abdullah. It is only when we understand those deepest lessons that Imam al-Hussein stood for in Karbala, then we will be able to say that yes, we truly are Husseini. I've said it over the last few nights, and I'll repeat it again. Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha says that look at the people of the past because history repeats itself. And then he says, I have done that. Just gave an example earlier to some brothers and sisters that the example that the ulama give is that the history is like a train. It's progressing towards one destination. The passengers come off and new passengers come on. The scenery is the same, the destination is the same, it's just the passengers that change. It's like a big play. History repeats itself over and over and over, but the actors change. But the essence remains the same. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I read about the people, I pondered over the people, and it was as if I had lived amongst those people. That's how much I thought about it. So look at Karbala, take the example of just Karbala, look at the whole of history as well. Look at the various non-Muslim civilizations. Look how they lived, what they did, and take lessons from it. One of those lessons that we're going to study today, as I've said, is the one of fear. In Quran and in Riwayat, we have two types of fear. We have one type of fear where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when talking about the awliya of Allah, the friends of Allah, those that are near to Allah, la tarsun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. They are the ones that have no fear and they have no sadness. Or then we come across a riwayat at another place from Amir al-Mu'mineen, who he says, al-kha'ifu la aisha lah. That the one that is fearful, he can't live a normal life, he can't lead a normal life. And then we have various hadiths popping up saying, khafillah, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we come through and we find ayat of the Holy Quran which talk about وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ, and those that understand the fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understand His status, for them await the two heavens of Barzakh and Jannah. There are two types of fear. Which one are we focusing on? Inshallah, I'll highlight both of them and see what we can take in the time that we have. The fear that Amir al-Mu'mineen speaks about, this one that the person that is fearful cannot live a normal life, that is the fear that brings about sadness and depression. In the society that we live in, these are things that we see every single day. Sadness, depression, a number of psychological problems. And that bad type of fear, it has three types. Imam al-Sadiq salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi says ثلاثة من كن فيه لا عيش له. When there are three things in a person, this person will not be able to live a normal life. What are those three things? Al-Hiqd, a grudge. When a person holds a grudge, this is one thing that will cause sadness and depression. That's the fear the Quran is talking about. The Quran says this sort of thing. It's talking about this sadness and this depression. This is what Mu'mineen is also referring to. Al-Hiqd, grudge. This person did not come to my son's wedding 50 years ago, so I'm not going to go to his son's wedding. And no one in my family is going to go to his son's wedding. How dare he? Grudge stops a person from living a normal life. Al-Hasad, jealousy. Pretty straightforward. Su'ul khulq, bad akhlaq, bad manners. Just being a downright, a person who just has no manners, doesn't know how to speak to someone. These are three things: grudge, jealousy, bad manners, that the sixth Imam says will bring about sadness and depression in one's life. Especially the one of the grudge. The one of the grudge, this is something we don't want to let go of. There's certain things. And when we look at riwayat, we find that the grudge is referred to as Ummul Uyub, the mother of all sin, the mother of all problems, the root of all problems, because I'm not willing to let go. I'm not willing to let go and let the bygones be bygones. And it's worse when my grudge is against another mu'min. Forget another human being. When it's against another mu'min, and those are the people who we really have grudges against. So we've got to remove these from our lives. If we find that sadness, that depression, all of those things, if we remove them from our lives, then inshallah we'll be able to progress further. Another example that we find in riwayat, it says, "Man nazara ila ma fi aydin nas." When a man looks at what another person possesses, there's certain people that always look at what someone else has. He's got this car, I need this car. He's got this, this type of house, I need this type of. Why has he got that phone? Why haven't I got that phone? Why has he got that? The Imam says, the sixth Imam says, that the person who keeps on looking at others and comparing himself, Ta'ala huznu, his whole life will be full of sadness and depression. He will always be upset because he's never happy. He'll always be upset. Then another example we come across, again from one of the Imams. It says, رُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ سَاعَةٍ تُورِسُ حُزْنٍ طَوِيلًا. A few moments of a shahwati act, an act of fulfilling your carnal desires, will bring a lifetime of upset, of sadness, of depression. Giving into that carnal self, just for a little moment. When you look at the various people, when you see the programs, you read psychological reports of people who are adulterers. They're always feeling bad. That one moment of shahwat, that one moment of carnal desire, giving into it, and the whole life is spent repenting or feeling sad over that moment. They can't live it down. But Allah says, but when the awliya of Allah have no fear, when He says in the Holy Quran at the start, He said the awliya of Allah have no fear, what Allah is referring to is that they have no depression, they have no sadness in their lives, because they have a greater cause to aspire to. Another thing that causes this sadness and depression is when someone's haqq, when someone's right is taken away from them. We find that once Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, he sees a youth that's upset, sitting in the corner, all the other people are playing, all the other young people are playing, and this youth is in the corner. The Imam goes up to him and says, "What is your name?" He tells him his name. "What is your father's name?" He tells him his father's name. "Where is your father?" And he replies that my father has died. He says, "Okay, where is your mother?" And they call his mother. And this Amir al-Mu'mineen asks his mother, "Why is your son so upset? What is it?" She says, "Oh, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he lost his father a few years ago. His father went on a business trip with his friends, and they came back and they told us that he fell ill during the business trip, and all the money that they had, they buried him. All the money he had, they used it to bury him. And that was the end of that." And she says, "But I didn't believe them, because he had a lot of money with him when he left here. So I took it to Qadi Shurayh, and he said, 'Do you have any witnesses?' I had no witnesses. There were 4 of them. He ruled in their favor." Amir al-Mu'mineen says, "Okay." So he summons all 4 men. He starts questioning them one by one. You know, he starts asking them that, "Where were you? When did he die? How did he die? Who buried him? How much money did he have?" And found that each and every one of these men was telling a different story. So Amir al-Mu'mineen then said, "All your stories don't match," and they eventually admitted, "Yes, that we killed him, we took his money and took it." Amir al-Mu'mineen straight away ruled that all the money that they took off him should be given back, and then they would face the punishment of the faith, of the law. One of the reasons for the depression of this child was that his haqq had been taken away, that his right had been taken away. That was why he was upset. So when there's 5 or 6 of those things that I've said that cause bad fear. I.e. the fear that the Quran talks about is the one of sadness and depression. But there's also the other side to it. You know, there is also the lesson that we have to take from Ashura. When I say that one of the lessons of Karbala, one of the lessons from the day of Ashura is fear, it's not this fear we're talking about. This is another fear. This is the same fear that Amir al-Mu'mineen refers to and says on the day of Qiyamah there will be a call that will come out saying, "Ayn al-khaifun?" Where are the ones that feared? Where are those that were scared? And they will come forward, a group will come forward, and then the voice will come, "All of you enter into Jannah without judgment, because you were aqrabun nas, you were the most closest to Allah from all of the people, because you had the fear of Allah within your heart." This is the fear that we're referring to. This fear of Allah is what gives you courage. This fear of Allah is what brings about that courage that Amir al-Mu'mineen tells Sa'sa about. On the 19th of Ramadan, when Amir al-Mu'mineen has been struck, Sa'sa bin Sohan comes to ask Amir al-Mu'mineen some questions. One of the questions he asks Amir al-Mu'mineen is that, "Ya Ali, is your status higher or is the status of Musa higher?" Amir al-Mu'mineen replies that, "Sa'sa, it is not good for a person to speak good of themselves. However, because you have asked, it is my haqq that this is the rahmah of Allah, this is the ni'mah of Allah upon me, that I must tell you. If you ask whether I am greater than Musa, then I say, yes, I am greater than Musa." Sa'sa replies, "Ya Ali, why? Amir al-Mu'mineen says that Sa'sa read the Holy Quran. We find that when Musa is ordered by Allah to go and reveal the message to Fir'aun, he says, "Oh Allah, I fear retribution because I have killed one of them. I have killed one man from amongst them, and I don't want to go in front of Fir'aun. Send with me my brother Aaron." But oh Sa'sa, when the Holy Prophet of Islam ordered me to go to Mecca and reveal the ayahs of Surah Tawbah, when he ordered me to reveal those ayats to the Meccans, I, knowing that I'd killed someone's brother, killed someone's father, killed someone's uncle, each and every one of them, each and every house in Mecca had a death at the hands of Ali. But I did not tell Allah or Rasulullah to send anyone with me. But Sa'sa, I went to Mecca. As I entered into Mecca, I called all the kuffar, and they all gathered at the Kaaba. I walked through each and every one of them. I climbed to the top of the Kaaba. Sa'sa, no one dared to stop me. I climbed to the top of the Kaaba. I revealed the ayahs of Bara'ah. Then Sa'sa, I came down and I started walking between them, and they all started parting. It was as if when a lion has captured its prey and he walks through the other animals and not a single animal dares to come in front. Each and every one of these Meccans moved out of my way. Sa'sa, I looked into each and every one of their eyes and I saw fear, and then I looked within my heart and I found itminan. For this reason I am greater than Musa. Shall I finish off the riwayat then? If you're in the mood.
Yes.
Amir al-Mu'mineen, Sa'sa asks him, "Ya Ali, is your status higher? Is the status of Adam higher?" Ali says, "My status is higher." "Ya Ali, why?" He says, "Sa'sa, read the Quran. Allah told Adam to stay away from wheat, because in the Holy Quran the word shajara is used. In Arabic, shajara can also mean plant. In riwayat we find that that plant is wheat. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Sa'sa, in the Holy Quran Adam is told that do not go near this plant of wheat, do not eat from it. But still him and Hawa cannot resist, and they go and they eat from that wheat. But ya Sa'sa, Allah has made wheat halal on Ali. Allah has allowed Ali to eat wheat, but Ali still refrains from it and has spent his life eating barley." Then he says, "Ya Ali, is your status higher? Is the status of Ibrahim higher?" He says, "My status is higher, Ya Sa'sa." "Why, Amir al-Mu'mineen?" Amir al-Mu'mineen replies, "Sa'sa, read Quran again. Read Quran again. You find in Quran that Ibrahim says, 'Allah, show me how you will raise the dead. Show me how you will raise the dead.' And Allah replies, 'Why, Ibrahim, do you not have faith? Do you not have yaqeen? Do you not have certainty?' He says, 'My Lord, I do, but I wish my heart to be at peace.' But Sa'sa, know that I have said it many times that even if every single one of the curtains were lifted in front of the eyes of Ali, his iman would not increase by one atom." Ya Ali, is your status higher, or is the status of Isa ibn Maryam higher? "My status is higher, Sa'sa." "Ya Ali, why?" He says, "Read Quran, Sa'sa. When we see in the Quran that Maryam started to feel the pains of labor in Baytul Maqdas, the cries came from Allah that, 'Oh Maryam, leave this place. This is holy ground. This is not a place of birth. Leave from here.' And Maryam was forced to leave. But when my mother, Fatima bint Asad, was doing tawaf of Baytullah, a crack appeared. A voice was heard from inside, 'Oh Fatima bint Asad, come in.' But Sa'sa, know this, that Maryam was not sent out because of herself. She was sent out because of Isa. My mother was not called into the Kaaba because of herself. She was called in because of me." This is the type of fear we are speaking about. This is the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that gives courage to rise in even the oldest of men like Muslim ibn Awsaja, and in the youngest of the children like Qasim. This fear of Allah is what gives them the courage in front of the people. There are 4 types of fear that we know is the good fear. The first of those fears is the one of the fear of the status and the majesty of Allah. Fearing the status and that majesty of Allah. What does it mean to fear it? It's like when your parents are sitting there are certain things that you won't say in order to maintain their respect, or you shouldn't say in order to maintain this respect. You never know in this day and age. However, you don't say some things because to maintain the respect of your parents. In the same way, you respect the majesty and the sanctity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such that you do not commit sin, knowing that Allah is watching your every action. The Quran says, أَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَرَى. Do they not know that Allah is watching them? Do you not know that Allah watches you? If only we could implement that one line into our lives. Do you not know that Allah watches you? If we could just implement it, then everything within our life would change. The 6th Imam says that there are 3 groups of people that surprise me. The first group, the ones that are inattentive, that are in ghafla, but they are the subject of attention. How? Have you ever watched back a home video? Have you ever watched back a wedding video? And you see yourself coming in there not knowing that the cameraman's got the camera on you, and you think, oh, why was I doing what I was doing? Why was I... God, I wish I could go back and change that. The same way, Allah sees everything. And on the day of Qiyamah, then it will all be brought out in front of the people. It will be brought out in front of the people, and everyone will see those sins that I've committed over the years. And then some will say that how we wish we were dust again. Ya laytani kuntu turaba. That how we wish we were dust again. Oh Allah, give us the opportunity to go back again. But they will not be given that opportunity. There is a story from Abdullah ibn Umar, the son of the second Khalifa, that he would walk around saying, قَالَ الرَّائِي فَأَيْنَ اللَّهِ. That the shepherd is saying, where is Allah? They asked him, then what does this mean? The shepherd is saying, where is Allah? He said, one day, me and some friends went out on a trip, and we went walking in the wilderness, and we came across a shepherd, and he was herding his sheep, and he was just generally there. So we sat under a tree, in the shadow of the tree, and I approached him. I said to him, come and sit with us and eat. We've got some food, let's eat. He said, no, I can't. I said, why? He said, because I have a mustahab fast. I'm fasting. So he said to him, is it wajib or mustahab? He said, it's mustahab. So then this person says to him that, well, if it's mustahab, let us join in the sawab, because mustahab fast, if you keep a mustahab fast and someone offers you something to eat and you break that fast, they get the sawab and you get the sawab of a whole day's fasting. Yeah? So this is mustahab fast. So he said, let us do it. He says, no, I won't. He goes, no, come, you've got to come and have, he goes, okay, I'll come with you on one condition, that you write for me on a piece of paper that I will live tomorrow, that I will be alive tomorrow. He said, that I can't do. He says, then I can't break my fast. So then this Abdullah turns around and he says, okay then, well, if you can't do that, you won't come and eat with us, give us one of your sheep so that we can slaughter it, cut it, make kebab or whatever. He says, I can't do that either. These are not, they don't belong to me. They don't belong to me, so I can't give them to you. He says, oh, look, there's so many sheep here. No, sorry, I don't mean to. There's so many sheep in your flock, and you just give one. It's not going to make any difference to you. The owner won't even know. Just give it to us. You know what the shepherd turned around and said? فَإِنَّ اللَّهِ. So then where is Allah? So where is Allah? It's at those moments. We think, oh, okay, it won't make a difference. Since that day, Abdullah ibn Umar would walk around and say, قَالَ الرَّائِي, that the shepherd says, where is Allah? We have those opportunities within our lives to do haram, and sometimes we do it, it's only a little bit. Okay, someone's left it, I'll eat it, or I'll do something. I'll use this without their permission, and then I'll ask them later. What happens if you die before that? There's all these questions, but sometimes we think of these matters as trivial and we don't ponder over them. The Imam says there's three types of people that shock me. The first is the ones that are inattentive even though they are the focus of attention. The second one, طالب الدنيا والموت يطلبه. They are chasing the dunya and maut, and death is chasing them. How many times do we forget death? Everything, we're happy with all of our lives. We carry on, but then when death comes, it shocks us. We think that it's okay. We won't die just now. We won't die, later. We'll die later. We'll probably die in 10 years, 50 years. I'm sitting here thinking, well, I'll probably hit 80. If I'm, keep myself healthy, then I'll probably hit 100. And when I go to Hajj, it's the example I've given here before. When I go to Hajj, I'll change my ways. And then I'll become more religious. What happens if that opportunity does not come? There are those group of people that chase the dunya, but yet death chases them. Those are the types of people that we forget all of these things. We start getting involved in, and that doesn't mean you can't be happy, but you can be happy while staying within the restraints of Islam. That doesn't mean that I have to go to a concert or anywhere where music's being played, or go to weddings where there's music, or where there's a gathering of lahab where they're not going to speak about anything about religion. All it's going to be is pure entertainment. You're not allowed. Those are haram gatherings. But Allah says, doesn't mean that you can't be happy. But be happy within the constraints of Islam. Don't go out and, start getting sidetracked in the dunya. And it's my request to the youth that I'm available during the day, and anyone can come over at any time. Let's sit down, let's have a discussion, let's have a talk. Yeah? And inshallah, if you have any questions that you can't ask me here, then we can sit there, bring a group, and we can sit and we can discuss. The door is always open. And if I can't answer it, I'll always know someone who can. And I'll bring you the answer. But ignorance is no longer an option. When we look at the world and all of it preparing for the coming of the Imam, ignorance is no longer an option. It's not an option for us anymore. We have to be more and more alert. We have to try and prepare ourselves for the coming of the Imam. Recite Salawat, please.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
4 types of fear. The first one is fear of the majesty and the status of Allah. The second one is the fear of Qiyamah. Knowing that the day of Qiyamah is يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا وَمَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. That it is the day when neither children nor wealth will come to your aid. Only your good deeds will come to your aid. The third type of good fear, the fear that gives you courage, the fear that brings you towards Allah, is the fear of the result of my life. The decisions we make in this dunya affect our akhirah. Every action has a reaction. One of the ways, one of the types of fear is that a person should be in fear at the result of his life. So many people came to Abu Abdullah in order to advise him, and he, being the Imam, knowing that he was the Imam, invited them. This same person, Abdullah ibn Umar, comes to the Imam. He kisses the chest of the Imam and he says, this is the chest that Rasulullah would kiss. But he didn't help the Imam. Ubaydullah Hurr Jawfi, Imam goes to his tent. He says, I'll give you a sword, a shield, a horse. But he didn't come to help the Imam. Abdullah ibn Zubayr, he came to see Imam and said to Imam, don't go. But he didn't help the Imam. Let it not be the case when our Imam comes that we are not the ones that will help him. We may be thinking, oh no, the Imam's okay, you know, he can deal with it. Like these people were thinking, they had 1,000,001 excuses in their heads as to why they shouldn't help the Imam. And if our hearts are not clean and we don't have that fear of Allah within our hearts, there is no way that we will be able to recognize the Imam of our time. A mu'min always fears his end result. It's no good starting off good and then ending on a bad note. You know, people start off and they get this flair, and we see it throughout history. Look at all those people that started with Amir al-Mu'mineen, started with Rasulullah, but then yet fought against Amir al-Mu'mineen. They fought against Amir al-Mu'mineen in various battles. They denied Imam al-Hassan. They were, you know, those that stood against Abu Abdullah, many of them claimed to be the ashab of the Prophet. It's no good starting off good and then having an end. We have to remember that end that we're going to. Those are 3 types of fear. And the last one is the fear of gunnah. The fear of sin. Do I fear it? In the society that I live in, where sin is open and easily accessible, do I actually fear doing sin? Or has it become easy for me? If it's become easy for me, then I need to repent and return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the hope that I will be able to recognize the Imam of my time and not fight against him. The fear of Allah. There is good fear, as I said at the start, and there is bad fear. Which is the bad fear? That fear that brings you sadness, depression, worrying about the dunya. And the good fear is that fear that is the fear of Allah. The fear of the majesty of Allah. the fear of Qiyamah, the fear of your end, and the fear of Ghunaah. When all of those fears come together in a person, it gives them courage. It gives them courage. Like in Karbala, Abis ibn Shabib, he comes and he stands there in the battlefield. He takes off his armor, he throws it to one side, and he says, I have no fear, come and attack me. Umar ibn Sa'd turns to his army and says, no one go and attack him directly. No one go one-on-one. All of you surround him and stone him. Because he knew that this is a man that has no fear. Sa'd ibn Abdullah, he stands in front of the Imam while the Imam is praying namaz, taking each and every one of the arrows into his body. When the Imam has finished his salah, he falls at the feet of the Imam. He falls at the feet of the Imam, and the Imam says, Sa'd, I give you good tidings, glad tidings of Jannah. Do you have any last requests? He says, yes, Mawla, one question. I swear to you, when I read this in the books, I started crying myself. This man, he's there in the lap of the Imam. The Imam says, do you have any questions? He says, yeah. Do you have any last requests? He says, yes, I have one question. And the one question that I have is, Awafaitu, have I been loyal to you? Have I fulfilled my oath as your Shia? Am I going to be able to do that? Have that courage when my Imam comes? Or are my sins going to be that barrier that stops me? This is that courage that was found in Karbala. In the old and in the young. Today I want to remember two of those two sons of Hazrat Zainab, Awan and Muhammad. Many of you have children, and these sons of Hazrat Zainab were around the same age as them. They were still very young. They were sent with Hazrat Zainab on behalf of Hazrat Abdullah as his sacrifice for Abdullah. On the night of Ashura, Hazrat Zainab is preparing her sons. She's saying that tomorrow, do not let me down. Make sure that you are sacrificed for my brother Abu Abdullah. She is getting them ready. Make sure you're the first on the battlefield to sacrifice yourself for the Imam. When the day of Ashura dawned and all the Shahada were going and their bodies were coming back, at one point Aun and Muhammad came to stand in front of their mother. Hazrat Zainab turned away from them. They said, Mother, what have we done? She says, why are you still alive? Why have you not been sacrificed on my brother Hussein? They said, Mother, every time we go to our uncle Hussein, he begins to cry and sends us back saying, you are the memory of for your mother. Hazrat Zainab takes her two sons and goes to Abu Abdullah. And she says, give them permission to go out and fight. They go out and fight, and they fight bravely to such an extent that the books of Maqtal say that the army of Yazid had no answer for these two young children. So instead what they did is they encircled Aun and Muhammad and then began to rain spears upon them and arrows and stones until they fell to the ground, and both cried out, oh Uncle Hussein, come to our aid. Abu Abdullah comes to their aid. By the time he's reached the bodies, one of the sons has died and one is passing through those last stations. He brings the bodies back and he sees that the lips of the eldest of the two sons is still moving. He calls Hazrat Zainab and they find that Zainab is in sajda. All the women are crying around the bodies of Abdullah and Muhammad, and Hazrat Zainab is in sajda. Aun and Muhammad Hazrat Zainab is called over, Imam al-Hussein calls her over and says, your son is saying something. Go and listen. The ulama narrate that Zainab put her ear to the lips of her son, and he said to her, my mother, I swear by you that we reached the banks of Furat, but we never drank any water. Hazrat Zainab at no point cried for her sons. No one cried. She did not cry from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham. All Zainab did is cry for her brother Hussein. But at the end of the day, Zainab is a mother. When she reached Medina, she went inside her house and into the room where her sons would sleep. Seeing the two musallas of her sons upon the floor, she cried out, oh Abdullah, come and give Zainab condolences for her two sons, because from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham, she has cried for her Hussein. Allow her to cry for her children. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of our parents. Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Allah Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Oh Allah, those who are in debt, clear their debts. Oh Allah, those who are in education, make them successful. Oh Allah, keep safe the azadars of Sayyid al-Shahada wherever they may be. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time. Allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen and his true awaiters for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that the brothers and sisters have brought to the gathering. Please recite 3 loud salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.